Okay, so yesterday we did the first 2 layers, and this part is really layer 1, this whitest white part. This part I went back through and just with the edge of my pencil did like a light coating because this little path on layer 2 has to be darker than this one. So I've just kind of darkened that. You could probably even do that just with your blending stump. You could probably take this already with the graphite that you have on there and just kind of make that a little bit darker. Now, layer 3 has to be darker than the layer you just put down. When I put down layer 2, I drew all the shapes at one time. I'm not going to do that with layer 3 because it gets a little bit too confusing. So I'm just going to do one shape at a time. It is still going to go into another shape. So it's going to connect those two. And then I'm going to put a darker shadow than I had on layer 2. It should be a distinct difference. So layer 1 is the lightest so far, and you're just going to get darker as you go. And if you noticed on layer 2, it's darker close to the edge, and then it kind of fades out as you get farther into the inside of the shape. And we're kind of working in reverse because you're kind of thinking like, okay, I'm working on this shape, but the end result is the path that's going to show. And that will all make sense once we get all of the layers on there. So I'm going to go through, I'm going to add shapes to each of these new little sections, and I'll put a drop shadow on each of those and blend it out. I want it to be dark nearest the line, and then it's going to fade out and get lighter and lighter, and I'm just going to change the pressure that I'm putting on my pencil to do that, and I'm going to go back over to smooth it out. And remember, it's a slow process to shade something, so don't be in a rush like I'm going too fast even right now. So just let your pencil do the work. If you want to hold it this way, if you feel more comfortable that way, you can. That gives you a smoother kind of look. You can do that. It's up to you, whatever feels best. If you want to use the blending stump or Q-tip or your tissue, whatever you've got to blend, don't use your finger because it'll leave it kind of oily, but you can use other materials to do that. And it should be definitely darker. This value should be than the shape above it, okay? So I'm going to go back through and fan this one out, and I'm just going to work my way around the entire composition, and I'll do that in the time lapse, and then we'll do the last layer, layer 4. So let's see where we get. Okay, so what I'm doing right now is I'm going back through. This is layer 1. I'm just going to label it for you guys. This is layer 1, so this whole little area right here. And I'm going back and cleaning it up. This should be your lightest layer. And as you're drawing, you're probably smudging a little bit on it. What I should have done is put a piece of paper over it as I was going, especially if you're left-handed like I am. Every time you move, you're smudging something. So you can get a piece of paper and put over what you've already done so that you're not smudging as you go along. So I'm going to go back and clean that up. The very last thing I'll do, and I already started a little bit of this. So this is layer 1, this is layer 2, so this is the lightest value. This, all of this, is layer 2. And you're not numbering yours, I'm just numbering mine so you can kind of get an idea of what's what. And then this is layer 3. So all of this in here. And then this is layer 4. So wherever that piece of paper, hypothetically, right? Wherever it is covering something else, there's going to be a little drop shadow, a little shadow underneath it. So for some of these, I need to go back and make a little shadow that crosses over some of that. So I'm going to just do one layer at a time. So I'm looking just at this whitest white layer, and wherever something is under it, I may need to go back and just kind of darken up that little area so it really looks like it is on top of it. Then I'll concentrate on layer 2. Wherever something is underneath layer 2, the closer to the edge that it is, I'll make that a little bit darker on my drop shadow. And you've already got, your basic drop shadow on there. I'm just going back and kind of strengthening it up some just to give it a little more pop. So I'll go back this way. Wherever there's something underneath layer 2, I'm going to go back and, heighten up that the shadow under it. Then I will move to layer 3, and whatever is under layer 3, which is over here, I'm going to make sure that it has a nice shadow. Be careful that you're not going back up over the lighter layers, because those layers are on top. So the lightest light is on the very top, then the next light is layer number 2, and then it goes on down until you get to the last layer, which is super, super, super dark. And you can really press hard and get some dark values on that. And then once you're done, what I would do is I would take my pencil and I would just crispen up the very, very edge of each of the layers. So like I already did layer 1, so there's a nice little crisp edge there, and then I'll go back and do layer 2, and then I'll do layer 3, and then finally layer 4. And then I'll take my eraser, and anywhere that I need to clean up, just to give it a nice clean edge, I'll go back and do that. So you should have 4 very different value changes, and hopefully it will give you some ins and outs of looking like it is layered one on top of the other.